Hi everyone. Today we're going to be talking about unique ways to grow your CPG brand without breaking the bank. I'm here with Allison and I'm Berlyn if you don't know me. We're going to start with some quick intros. Allison, do you want to get started?
Sure. My name is Allison LaGuardia. I run a boutique advertising agency called All Media. We help small to mid-sized marketers with everything from media strategy, buying, and planning. And we're based in Connecticut, on the East Coast.
Yeah.
So we are at 1 o'clock here.
Yeah. Nice to have you. I'm really excited to chat
Thanks for
today.
having me.
If you don't know me, I'm Berlyn. I'm a digital marketing strategist and founder of Plan to Marketing. We're a full service agency that specializes in community building and community centered marketing for purpose driven brands. I'm on the opposite side of the country in Orange County, but work with people all over the world and love to be connected here with everybody on Zoom. So,
Great.
we're gonna get right into it. I'm so excited to chat. I feel like literally every single day, I'm not exaggerating, I see people that are like, Instagram's so hard, it's not working. Organic social has just been like extremely difficult to grow on.
Mhm.
We also have like different like ad things that are difficult right now with like the election year that's been really hard. So how have you seen that like impacting your clients and like what have you done to kind of pivot and help with that? I know that's a really big question.
Sure. So yeah, similar to you, seeing everybody with the especially in Meta, the performance marketing was such a strong tool maybe about a year ago to use as everybody, moved their budgets from traditional media into social media and influencer probably about I would say 12 to 18 months ago. And then people were getting this ROAS that was incredible on their ad spend. So for a smaller like boutique brand, they were utilizing, like the $2,000 a month budget or $1,000 a month budget and getting like 3 to 5 times return on their money. And then all of the sudden, as soon as they start putting more money behind that, they ended up seeing their ROAS go down and it became more of a struggle for these brands like, okay, now where am I putting my money? Because now I'm not getting the conversion. So, as you know, being a marketer yourself, the top of funnel is also really important part of the marketing pie to put your dollar. So it wasn't going to solve that end all be all. And even now more so as social media, that whole marketplace has become more cluttered with all sorts of categories competing for similar audiences, as well as, the Amazons, the TikToks, Pinterest, Etsy, all becoming a social media platform for these brands. And there's only so many marketing dollars to go around. So that's why we're talking about that
hmm
today, because I feel like everybody's a little frustrated with the algorithms that they can't control.
hmm Yeah, Instagram just, I mean, it's been like dramatically decreasing like your reach and it's been so hard. I've actually I don't even use it as a top of funnel strategy anymore. I use it more to like nurture my audience and I just use other methods to get them to Instagram because it's like there's actually like no organic reach. I do all the things on my own Instagram and it just doesn't work.
Mhm.
Um, like my views on each post are like 15 accounts reached. Like, what are we supposed to do with that? So
Yeah.
it's definitely turned into more of like a nurturing platform than a growth platform, which is very frustrating, especially for like small business owners, because that's
Yeah.
where the go-to should be, right? So,
hmm
what other methods have you seen that have worked really well for your clients to kind of like act as that top of funnel strategy and kind of bring their clients in or bring in brand awareness?
Yeah, you mean outside of social media,
Yeah.
in general? Yeah. So we're seeing a lot shifting lately towards traditional media, which is very interesting. A lot of billboard advertising or out of home advertising. We've seen some regional print media, which is just to bring that awareness and uncluttered environment. A lot of email marketing has worked, and partnerships have become key with like-minded brands. So really building on, similar traffic and similar, um, but non-competitive categories tend to work really well just from amplifying. their exposure to, brands. I mean, the ultimate goal is everybody wants to go viral, but what does that mean anymore? Is that they're really, paying for it and it's just like a blip in the radar. I've seen a lot of brands go viral and then they don't continue to support that and feed the beast, so to speak. So
Mhm.
they end up, going away in a matter of, a few weeks after that because it's very small. But to your point too, social media has become similar to viewing television and watching commercials. Like people are in the habit of just scrolling by now and not really clicking or going to buy and purchase, which is what social media was, 5 years ago, to
Mhm.
click and buy. But now it's become more of just people are a little desensitized to just the scrolling and looking, and they're not really even sure with the algorithms of what's an ad and what is actually an organic post, and then what is just on like within TikTok, like their For You page is now like you're not really following them, but they're suggested to you based on your, habits. So a lot of the to answer your question, also a lot of other plays in media have been just really bringing it down to like an almost niche audience that you could target versus casting the net wider and trying to get a bunch of people into your funnel. So
Mhm.
that's
Yeah,
good.
a lot of people think they want this like viral content, but going viral, I feel like is more of a curse for your brand because one,
Yeah,
if you're a small business and you get millions of views, like are you ready to handle that? Like if you do start getting orders, like are you ready for that? And then
exactly.
two, yeah, that kind of turns into your 15 minutes of fame. You don't have the opportunity to like grow an actual audience. You get
Yeah.
it all at once and then they lose interest right away. So going viral should definitely never be the goal, but also to your
Hmm.
point of like we're so desensitized from the scroll, at the same time we need to make this like viral level content to like get people to stop scrolling and to pay attention. Um,
Right.
so I think that like community building aspect has become really important too, and I think a lot of that really plays into like bringing in the founder and like highlighting your values and like who you are as a person and as a founder and who you are as a brand and like bringing in your values. Do
Right.
you see like have you utilized that kind of strategy for your clients and have you seen
Yes. I
that?
love that strategy. It's like being, I always tell these brands, like it's being your authentic self as a brand.
Mhm. Mhm.
Because there's only so much content you can create on the product itself or the lifestyle or the persona you're trying to achieve. So it's really, people love to know that you're like an authentic brand and that you really believe in your brand. And, obviously it has to work for whether it's a beauty product or,
Mhm.
gardening tool, whatever it is that it needs to work. But they love to hear the background of the founder story, how they got, how they, developed this product or how they became involved with this brand. And then also even just kind of like learning about like the background of the company. People love those, like how they built it, how, how they creative. It's a nail polish, like,
Mhm.
the conveyor belts and filling the polishes. Like that's something that continues to be great content for a brand and really speaking to the audience that you're like not just a blip that's going to be gone the next day, but really, people love to support people who are, genuine and true to their mission rather
Mhm.
than just like a money maker and some of these bigger conglomerates that
Mhm.
you've seen on TikTok, like the Sheins are of the world are just like fast fashion, like thrown out there,
Mhm.
a million times over. And yet like the product when you get it is never what it appears to be, sadly. So really for these like younger brands and founder stories, Q&A with the founders are also really great. Like ask me a question like, even like what are my favorite sneakers? It doesn't even have to be about like the brand, just something like to get to know like the type of person they're supporting with their dollars.
Mhm.
So yeah, I love that.
Yeah. Um, so you mentioned like nothing, everything that we order off like Amazon or Shein, like you never know what you're gonna get. It's usually
Mhm.
a disappointment. So like one thing I like to do to like combat that is use influencer marketing because traditionally you want to get your product in the hands of somebody, right? So they can see it, feel it, all of
Yeah.
those things. But online you can't really do that. So I like to use influencer marketing to kind of have this person in place of that.
Mhm.
How have you seen influencer marketing? Like what kind of, do you have any like case studies you can think of that you've seen like influencer marketing make a difference for your CPG brands?
Yeah, I mean, influencer marketing can satisfy a bunch of different I guess like touch points for a brand, whether it's being, if you're trying to sell the product through an influencer and you give them affiliate commission or you give them free product, whatever their or discounted code, they love that. So that satisfies a certain level of your marketing budget, but also if they're authentic and they want to work with you and they really, tell a friend or they, amplify that messaging to their network of their, that becomes really important. The challenge with some of the brands that I work with are they're targeting, maybe 40 plus or 45 plus women. So an influencer strategy for them needs to find the right influencer to partner with and what that platform is that they're speaking through. So whereas, TikTok, a couple, I would say a year ago was a lot younger than it is now. Now, it's much more broader, much more bigger base of people are on there. So that becomes an influencer marketing. You want to have like lookalike to the product you're selling. So if you're marketing, for a perimenopausal woman, like it's going to look very different than marketing to, a millennial or even, an alpha, generation
Mhm.
alpha. So that becomes like your dollars can be spent a lot more wisely with these micro and nano influencers to really amplify your product. I find the big ones don't generate the, ROAS as they used to, but they're again another like awareness play for you that people start talking about. Like I just read something earlier that 49% of the skin care sales boost from last year was Generation Alpha, which is an average age of 14.
Mhm.
So 49%. So that is like incredible that these, they didn't like the Sephora, boom of skincare and anti-aging for a 14-year-old is actually really sad to me. But that's who was supporting the massive movement on it. But as, a wrinkle, cream, they would never think to target that. But that just ended up, becoming something that they wanted to look towards to purchase, and that's crazy, but that's why it's very hard algorithm to figure out. Even in influencer, like, are you just getting paid? Consumers are very smart now that
Mhm.
they know when like they do see multiple influencers pushing the same product, they know that they don't really believe that, but that they're just being compensated for that. So
Yeah.
that's an
Yeah, so first the whole drunk elephant craze, like oh my God,
right.
it was very sad. I don't think the brand wanted to be associated with that, but that
Right.
happened. And yeah, that was all because of like these younger influencers. Feels weird to even say that, but like it just really took over. So
Hmm.
that was really interesting to watch. And but also yeah, micro influencers are definitely the way to go. I think influencer marketing is still really, really beneficial, but it has to be planned a lot differently because people are
Yeah.
tired of seeing ads. And when we do see these larger influencers, it
Hmm.
like the authenticity has completely gone out the window. And like
Yeah.
we don't trust them anymore because it is all about them making money. But I have seen a lot of success with micro influencers, like the 10 to 20 or even like below 30,000 followers is a sweet
Yeah.
spot, I think. They definitely have more engagement and more trust behind them,
Hmm.
like the products that they're promoting.
Right.
So I think that's been definitely still the way to go. Um,
Yeah, agree. I do think they're, the bigger influencers too are more like the celebrities to this generation
mhm.
versus, the Hollywood celebrities are not really
Yeah.
relevant to this next generation coming up as well. If, you could ask them a handful of celebrities and they really don't even know who you're talking about.
Mhm.
unless it's, within their feed or something that they've learned. They'd rather follow an influencer and really, become like, the fans of them
Hmm.
versus, a celebrity, which is
Yeah,
interesting.
it is interesting. I don't know if I'm a fan of how things are shifting, but it is what it is.
I know, exactly. I
Um,
know.
One thing that you mentioned that I'd love to hear more about is like TV ads. I think that's really interesting that people are kind of
Yeah.
reverting back to that. So
Hmm.
how do you go about that and like what have you seen come from that?
Sure. So lately it's been a lot of the OTT advertising, which is, Netflix, Hulu, Sling, like the streaming advertising, which has become because you can watch it on your own time and not like with the broadcast cable buy, which is still a very large budget to advertise on. But something like the, Hulu or even like Netflix is starting to get into the ads, they're very affordable. You can target regionally and they're much more digitally savvy than like a cable purchase, whereas you can target in like Chicago, Ulta, customers who live within like a zip code that's closest to like an Ulta being like no more than a mile away,
Hmm.
and women and age demographic, so that you're only serving your ads through that. So it becomes a very affordable mechanism for a small to mid-sized consumer brand who's trying to find, even if it's not a beauty product, but somebody like that's our customer.
Hmm.
Those become a great tool for and really custom and low out of pocket. But on the flip side, you get this, 30-second or 15-second, commercial done. And then you can show that in your buyer meetings with Ulta, with, Walmart, whoever your retailer you're pitching, that becomes part of your like content playbook as well, which people a lot of my brands have loved and used as like a great tool to show that you're supporting them, or if you're trying to break into like Target or some, like this is what their marketing strategy is, and then all the other, components to a media plan, which is still a lot of the buyers at these retailers are it's still becoming an important play for them outside of like who's your social, like how many people do you have on social media following you. That was like the question, I would say 18 months ago, that they were asking brands to make sure they had a big following. Then what they realized was you can go and buy the followers. They're not really
Hmm.
engaged, audiences that are engaging with your brand. And like you said, you see the likes are like 35, 40,
Hmm.
maybe, two comments, from what they were used to. So it becomes a bigger.
Yeah, quick note, do not ever buy followers. That's a quick way to just kill your
Yes.
entire platform because one, these
Yeah.
platforms are like trying really hard to prevent bots, so they're not gonna show like they're first of all, they're not real, so they're not gonna engage with you. If you,
Mhm.
these accounts see that you have like a really, really low engagement rate, so you're getting like a few likes on your post, but they see you have hundreds of thousands of followers, that's what's gonna prevent you from or prevent them from pushing out your content more. Um, I don't even work with people that have bot followers. It's in my contract. You're not allowed to do this because
Oh, good.
it will kill everything.
Oh gosh, that's great.
Um, One thing that we had talked about in the past is like samples. So how
Yeah.
do you use samples to help your clients grow? Like, do you send them to stores or to people or like what does that look like?
Yeah, so sampling has become a big part of, I guess, the whole marketing package, where whether it's giving them away at like, movie premieres or within some of the gift boxes like FabFitFun
Hmm.
is an option. I mean, they pay for the product at a wholesale cost in most cases, and then there's all like the curators and some of the other boxes for sampling. There's a lot of like niche ones as well. But
Hmm.
also like a lot of the publishers we work with usually do events with their sales teams or things like that they can get samples. Soul Cycle does, some events that you can be a part of in like like a workout in the park or things like that. So I believe in that, but from a brand that really needs to be part of their like line item of cost because they do have to create the samples, they do have to mail the samples out. So that becomes something of, even though it's a free opportunity in some cases, there is a cost associated with on the brand's part of getting them out and getting them into the right hands and hoping that, driving trial. But if you have a good product, there's a lot of different opportunities for that and to be a part of. And you should always raise your hand and say you have samples.
Mhm.
I know like Nordstrom has, they'll put a sample in like a box that is going to, somebody
Mhm.
purchases something from Nordstrom, it could be a sweater. They always put like a couple samples in the box that they have from people. And if you're trying to pitch a retailer, that is also something that they would want to know that you have samples to do that and help them with their, customers love some samples.
Yeah.
You could use them for influencer content too, because, sometimes you can't afford to pay an influencer to do a post for you, but you're happy to compensate them with samples or there's sorority opportunities at college campuses that they do, like the welcome gift bags for their new pledges. I've placed, girl products in some of those items. So if you really start breaking it down and thinking of like the opportunities with sampling, there's a lot that
Mhm.
are really great exposure for a brand.
Yeah. Sororities is something I've never even thought about, so that's interesting.
I know. I
Um,
know.
Going back to ads really quick, somebody asked, can you quantify affordable for the OTT small ads for small brands? Also, what kind of ROI are you seeing for regionally targeted ads, and how does that compare to meta ads?
Hmm. Okay. Wait, I gotta
It's
look
a
at
big
that again.
question.
Yeah, I know. Um, So how much for the OTT? Oh, for small brands. So regionally, again, depending on the market, if you were in like New York, LA, Miami, Chicago, those are more expensive because the population's larger and the competition's more fierce. But if you went into like, let's just say like Memphis, Tennessee, you could spend anywhere from, 2,000 to 5,000 for a market
Mhm.
with your OTT buy. So I hope that but upwards of you could get to 50,000 for, a market also depending on how big. Like Orange County is a big market too, but
Mhm.
not as big as LA. So
Mhm.
you could get you could get a little bit more affordable
Yeah.
there. And then what kind of ROI are you seeing for regionally target OTT ads and how does that compare for meta ads? So the ROI depends on obviously a bunch of different factors, your creative, your targeting, your reach and all that. But um, we mostly try and get above a one on anything that we do because that's really performance based. I mean, you got to spend money to make money, but you also don't want to spend money to lose money.
Mhm.
So we usually you know, the vendors will also give us their ROI based on
Mhm.
what they've seen for the amount of budget you're spending. So I hope that it's hard to say because meta ads too, like they used to be 7 to 9 times. Now they're,
Yeah.
0.75 to it
Yeah.
depends. Or I don't know. So depending on your targeting. I hope that
Mhm.
helps, Leslie.
Yeah, meta ads have been, well, first of all, you reminded me a lot in our last talk that it's an election year, so that is playing a big,
Yes.
big role. That impacts a lot of things. It impacts
Huge.
literally everything, like what people are
Yeah.
willing to spend. It
Hmm.
impacts your ad reach, your ad
Hmm.
spend, because you're
Hmm.
competing against these two parties who have unlimited budget and they're
Right.
targeting every single person. So this year has been really tough too. Um,
Yeah.
but
And nobody says that, right? Like nobody's saying that. Like, why are the CPM so high? It's like because it's an election year and they know. And, I always say too, when to some of these brands, like the money that's raised for these parties, I'm not getting political, but like on either side, like the money raised, like what does that money go towards? The top item is advertising,
mhm,
which as a small to mid-sized brand, that is something that you're competing with, I mean, these
Hmm.
millions and millions of dollars, all throwing it into that. And everybody, if you're over 18 to vote, that's who they want, male, female, anything that you are trying to, your criteria that you're setting on their own ad campaigns with their budgets of, they could spend upward of 100,000 a day on Meta, and
Hmm.
your ad will just be like in the abyss
Yeah.
of meta ads until the election is over. And that's, I've been doing this a long time, and that's been every, 4 years, especially, presidential election. Not even in the a non-presidential year, October's always tricky, September's tricky. So
Hmm.
I had a brand that was like ready to start like October 1st. They're like, let's go. And I was like, no,
Yeah.
like you don't want to do that yet.
Yeah.
Because on me, you'll know that your CPMs are going to be really, really high to in order to kind of break through the political ads, but it's going to get really dicey. So I would wait. My suggestion would be to wait until,
Hmm.
after the election to start, really ramping up your ad dollars. And then you're going to have Black Friday,
Hmm.
and that's another biggie. And, if you're a new brand and you don't want to do any discounts or promotions or sales, again, I would suggest that you wait until, that dies down as well, because that's another, um, hugely impactful, like everybody competing for the same audience type of media play.
Hmm.
You know,
Yeah, it's just
it's
more noise on top of noise on top of noise, and you're competing with millions
right.
of dollars. It's
Right. I mean, for us, like it's like advertising, is not dead, and people are still spending like that is, and obviously it works if, that's what you need to do to, to get the influence of the people,
Mhm.
I guess. So
What other do you have any like holiday specific strategies that you like to bring in? Like if people are getting started right now, it's a little like late to start your holiday campaigns, but like what tips would you have for them to kind of get them some more traction for the holidays?
I love listicles. So if you can be involved in anybody's listicle, like I would pitch that to, like BuzzFeed or um some of like the other publishers like Bustle and, the Condé Nast public, like Allure, they do like top 10 holiday gifts. So her, like, Oprah has her like favorite thing still, even though she, isn't, I guess she is involved in it a lot still too. But any of those like top 10, gifts that you need, it's very difficult. Another like holiday, I guess caution is if you're like a drugstore product and you're not like, or not even a giftable product, how you can craft that into something that people need to buy at the holidays. So if
Mhm.
you're like a hair mask, you're gonna position yourself as like a stocking stuffer or something that is small, or like, a favorite things party or girlfriend's night out, like, a little something under whatever dollars that you want to give. So get involved with, pitching yourself as like, I'm, unique, and I'm the candle you need to have, on your Christmas table or your holiday table. Like those are things that you need to almost envision to the people you're pitching. And those are very, you know, you'll see your sales spike on that. Etsy has some great, I think that's a great platform for holiday to start now with, of
Mhm.
getting those keywords up and getting the daily ad so that you're present in front of these people now of like a gift giving item, and be specific, like if it's for a mother-in-law, if it's for your dog, is it for, like, use those keywords because that will help amplify, and those can, give you the most sales all year if you position yourself right on that.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Um, I don't have a lot of experience with Etsy, like from a client
Yeah.
perspective, but I know like from my own shopping experience, Etsy has definitely changed as well. It's just
Yep.
they're like it feels almost Amazon-y, right? Because everybody's just putting stuff up there. It's all like
Yeah.
drop shipped. It's all like print on demand. Nothing is very Etsy-like
Hmm.
anymore. But do you
Hmm.
have clients on it? Do like what's your experience with it in the last like year?
We put up a couple of brands on it, like just as another selling platform for them, which has been pretty, it's been okay. It just has different eyeballs than the Metas and Amazons and like even their own like DTC. The
Hmm.
pricing is the same, the shipping is the same, so that you're not like cannibalizing one business for another, but
Hmm.
just as another platform. And it's fun to just like play around and get like the different, it's interesting to see like that people will order off of Etsy versus going to Amazon and seeing that they can get it in like 2 days. But
Hmm.
for whatever reason, that may be just like their comfort platform. And similar, very similar is Pinterest. I know you wanted to talk a little bit about that. And Pinterest used to be like, the Midwestern American mom site,
Yeah.
like crafting site. And it was very much something that was useful for an occasion. So if it was you were planning like a wedding or a birthday party or a milestone year, party or like, and it was like in and out, like you made your board and you were done. Or if it was like you're crafting something and you're done. Or, but now it's become like another like search engine also similar to Etsy where people can actually go now and not, a couple articles that I read are they don't feel the conflict and like the pressure of like a TikTok or a Instagram Reels like scroll. It's kind of like you're just looking, you're just viewing, and you can just like make the like collage yourself of what you
Hmm.
like versus like liking and collections and adding like it becomes a little bit cluttered on some of the other platforms and a lot of noise. So I
Hmm.
do think that Pinterest is trying to reinvent themselves also to become kind of that safe space, but still like, millions of people are on it, but
Hmm.
also like utilizing it for a little bit more than just occasions, but just like in your day-to-day life or how to, or like how to start a small business, how to like they're on business stuff. They do a lot of Canva tutorials or things like that. Like if you wanted to just educate yourself and not be, using the search engines of Instagram or TikTok. So
Hmm.
I do think that, Etsy and Pinterest are going to be very interesting to watch in 2024 as people are getting more and more frustrated with Meta and TikTok even.
Hmm.
So yeah.
Yeah, I love Pinterest. I think every single brand needs to be on it. It doesn't matter what
Hmm.
you are, what you sell, who your audience is. There's a way to make it work for everybody. And the audience, like it still does have a very young audience, which I think is nice. I think it kind of made like a comeback with a younger crowd. People are really into it because it is much, there is like
Yeah.
less pressure. We don't have to post anything like you
Hmm.
obligated to on like Instagram or TikTok. So it is more just about like collecting things and it is super
Yeah.
valuable. And yeah, it's more of like an SEO strategy because it is a search engine, not like a social media platform. So there's a lot of SEO.
Right.
And yeah, my
Yeah,
Pinterest.
like there's no pressure too to like have followers or likes or like look at my thing I create. Like it's just like with your
Yeah.
own, you know, building your own liking, like to your own liking, which
Hmm.
I think is becoming more like refreshing to this next generation who is desensitized
Yeah.
to all like the scrolling and everything. So
Hmm. Um, Yep. And yeah, it's interesting because I like on my own Pinterest, I don't have very many followers. I think I have less than 100, but I get like thousands of monthly views. So it's still like doing something people just don't follow like they do on other platforms, but they're still watching. And my Pinterest I've like hardly touched all year, but it's still like the top driver of organic traffic to my website. So I put in a lot of time last year and it's still just like churning all this traffic to me, which is obviously amazing, right?
yeah,
We don't have to do that works for us. Um, cool. Any
right,
other thoughts
right.
on
But
like,
yeah, I mean that's where you think of like the white space.
yeah, sorry, I think our internet's getting a little weird. I don't know whose it is, probably mine. But Any other thoughts that you have on like additional strategies that aren't social media related?
I missed that last question.
Oops. Any other tips that you have on strategies that aren't social media related?
Some similar strategies, I would say. I mean, outside of like Meta, whatever,
Hmm.
and Meta and TikTok, other strategies. I do like, there's a lot with like the dating apps. I think something like out of the box there that you can run on. There's a lot of like semantic and programmatic targeting. There's native articles that are within like, people's feeds that I think are pretty affordable and impactful as well. So there's a lot of different media options, and the OTT obviously is something that's coming up time and time again.
Hmm.
So yeah.
I love the dating app idea. That's really fun too. And also, like Bumble BFF has made a resurgence, so you can still get your ads out there for like anybody to see, and it doesn't have to be specifically related to like only a single audience or something. Like a lot of people are starting to use Bumble BFF again, so I think that audience is like growing a lot. So that's a really
Yeah.
good idea too.
Yeah, I agree. I also think like a lot of like the product placements are interesting, like with The Bachelorette and like all the like, Love Island, like there's ways to get involved with those shows that people may or may not even know exist. I mean, we place like people on like the Wheel of Fortune wheel as like a prize, and the Price is Right as like a bidding like item like up for bid in the audience, which is like another like out of the box thing. We've done like Weight Watchers centers, which you can advertise, some of your products to like a group of niche people, which I always think is a really smart like advertising play. Like if you found like teachers or nurses or Weight Watchers or Jenny, it was Jenny Craig back then. That is something like where a group of like-minded women are coming together to learn and grow together. And that's a great opportunity for a brand to kind of become, organically viral amongst the members
Hmm.
of that. So that's something that we like to reach, but at the same time, it's an affordable play for a marketer and a white space play.
Yeah, I think groups is a really smart idea. So you have like, looking on Meetup, like you could find any groups there and just like sponsor any of their events and get your products in, or if you find
Yeah.
women's groups in your area or anything related to your target audience, that's really smart because they're all looking for sponsorships, of course, and they all want like products involved to kind of bring in another aspect, another like fun thing to bring members into their community. So offering your products there is a really smart idea too. Love that. Um,
Oh,
cool.
there you are.
I think our internet's getting bad. It's probably mine. So I will open
Hmm.
up. If anybody has any other questions, feel free to drop them in the chat or just come off mute and you're welcome to ask them. Um, but in the meantime, Allison, do you have any final thoughts? All right. Are you there?
I can see you.
Oh
Yeah,
no.
I didn't hear. I could see you talking, but I couldn't hear you.
Oh no. Okay. I just said thank you, Leslie. I'm glad this was helpful to you. Allison, do you have any final thoughts? Are you ready to wrap up? Okay. Well, it was so nice chatting with
There you
you.
are. You keep
And
going in and out.
I know, I'm sorry. We'll just call this good. Thank you so much for being here, and we'll talk to you soon.
Bye bye.